Hello everyone, this is part 14 of What If Naruto was adopted by Kakashi, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Kurenai sighed to herself as she was walking in the lead with Kakashi. He was reading his book just like always. She didn't like the fact that he brought out that book in front of children, let alone in front of his own son. She gave up on trying to get him to put it away, although she also had to worry about Naruto, Kiba and their client. Normally Naruto and Kiba argued out of their friendship, but when you adding in Tazuna, with the amount of yelling and arguing those three did, it was amazing that people from Water Country didn't hear them, and they were an island nation far away. Sometimes she wondered if she was a Jonin sensei or a surrogate mother at times. Kakashi was little help, although she had a suspicion that he was enjoying her uneasiness. "Hey, Sasuke-kun," Sakura asked as she walked up next to her teammate. "I was wondering after the mission you want to go on a date sometime." Sasuke sighed mentally. He really didn't like it when Sakura acted like this. Why couldn't she act more like a real kunoichi, like the leader of Team 8? Kurenai was the perfect example of the kind of ninja a female should be. Someone that was professional and powerful was the type of girl he looked for, but apparently there were none in his age group. Although that Tenten girl he met was pretty close to the type he looked for. But he wasn't exactly looking for any type of relationship just yet. He still needed to get stronger. He had been getting stronger, but he still wasn't good enough to take down Itachi. Sasuke noticed that she was waiting for an answer. "Remember that favor you owe me for pretending to be your boyfriend in front of that weird guy in green." Oh yeah, Sakura had actually hoped he forgot, but whatever it was, she would do it. After all, she gave her word, and one thing she admired about Naruto was that he always kept his word. Besides, if she went back on her word, how could anyone trust her ever again? Sasuke looked at her seriously. "In return for that favor, I don't want you to ever ask me out again, ever." He walked off, leaving Sakura behind, who had just stopped in her tracks. She felt so crushed at that moment as her whole body just seemed to sag. She couldn't believe that he had just asked her for that. She had to do it as it was the favor, but she never expected him to do something like that. She started walking again when she saw that she was going to get left behind, but her mind was elsewhere at the moment. Had she just lost any change with Sasuke now? Why doesn't he like me? Sakura wondered. Damn it, we should never had made that deal. Inner Sakura screamed out. Does he not like me? I mean, does he think that I'm ugly or something? Sakura asked herself. She was thinking of her forehead and still remembered all the teasing she had gotten from it when she had been younger. Did he think that her forehead made her look like a freak? All the old self-doubt started to rise up in her again. Even after all this time, there was a part of her that was still that scared little girl with no friends who ended up going home crying from being bullied. Ino had helped her to grow out of it mostly, as had her other friends, but it was hard to get over some complexes. She walked on in silence as the self-doubt started to eat away at her confidence. Hinata was with Naruto and she was beaming on the inside. She couldn't believe that she was on a mission with him. Although at the moment he seemed to be sulking after Kurenai basically made sure that he and Kiba were in opposite ends of the column with their client in the middle. She smiled at how he was childishly crossing his arms, and she knew he was pouting behind his mask. "I can't believe we're being treated like kids," Naruto muttered to himself. "It's that old drunk's fault anyway. He keeps calling me short. I'm not short. I just haven't hit my growth spur yet, and when I do I'll be as tall as Dad, and then people will stop calling me short." Hinata giggled at this and Naruto turned his attention back to her. He smiled at her. If there was one nice thing on this trip, it was that he had his best friend here. He felt more at ease with her around here as well. He was thinking about something and maybe she could help him out. "Hey Hinata-chan, can I ask you something from a girl's point of view?" "Huh. Oh okay, what is it, Naruto-kun?" He scratched the back of his head. "Well, I know some things about girls, but apparently I don't know enough." He had read through his dad's collection, and although a few things still caused him to blush red, and it was how he had learned about the birds and bees from, he learned how to flirt, how to compliment, but given he had lost Sakura to Sasuke, he thought that he must have been missing something. What do girls really like in a boy? I mean, how can you get a girl to like you? Hinata blushed red all over her face at this. She started to fidget with her fingers again as she looked down at the ground. Well, it's different for each girl. Some like strong boys, others like sensitive types, others like those that are carrying, Hinata told him. Naruto sighed as this was more complicated than he thought, although he most likely had a better idea than most boys his age on some things to do with girls. He still didn't understand them. It would be years later when he finally figured out that no man could figure out a female totally. But at this point he was just trying to figure out why he lost out to Sasuke. Listening to Hinata made it seem that maybe he just wasn't Sakura's type. Although why she liked emo jerks with littler personality he never understood. He just sighed in defeat that maybe he and Sakura weren't meant to be, although he would still be there for her like all friends. He would stop bugging her about things like dates. She always gave him a maybe, but nothing much more than that. Maybe it was best to just be friends with her, and that was why she did that. She didn't want to ruin their friendship. Naruto felt like slapping his face, so that's why she never went out with me. She didn't want to ruin our friendship. It's like with me and Hinata-chan, she wouldn't want me to ruin our friendship either. Man, I should have thought of this earlier. Now it all makes sense. She's not friends with Sasuke really, so she went after him, but we've been friends for years. But now what am I going to do? I mean, I didn't know girls like different types of guys, so how do I know what types there are? I know, I'll ask Hinata what she likes in a boy. That will give me an idea. Hey Hinata-chan, what types of boys do you like? Naruto asked. What? She said, her eyes widening. I just want to know what you like in a boy, Naruto told her. Hinata's heart was racing as her mind started to work out why he was asking. Is he asking me because he wants to know if I like him? Does he really like me and he wants to make me notice him? What do I tell him? Hinata was fidgeting a bit more as she was really nervous at this point. She eventually decided on just going with how she felt about Naruto, what she liked about him. Well, I like boys that are caring to their friends, who always stand up for them and is always there for them. I like boys that are fun to be around with good sense of humor and who always make those around them happy. I like boys who are courageous and strong too. Naruto thought about that. He tried to think of someone like that, but he was coming up with a blank. He didn't know anyone like that unless it was someone in the Hyuga clan or a village boy. He wasn't sure why, but the thought of some mysterious boy that Hinata liked didn't sit well with him. Then he thought about Hinata kissing some boy and he felt his jaw clench for some reason. He blinked a few times and pushed the thoughts aside. He didn't understand why he felt like that, as she was just a friend, right? As the group walked on, Kurenai noticed a puddle of water on the road. Normally it wouldn't be odd, but it was the only one on the road and there hadn't been any rain for 3 days. She focused on it and noticed the illusion wrapped around it. She tensed as she was getting ready to strike when she felt Kakashi's fingers on her hand. She felt his fingers start to quickly tap out a message. It was one of the few ways a ninja would communicate with each other when they couldn't talk. The message was short, but when she put it together in her head, her eyes snapped to him. She couldn't believe that he wanted to test out the teams like that. He didn't show any signs of anything other than reading his book. Kurenai was thinking of going against it, but then the thought of why he would do this to his own team came into her mind. After their last big mission, it took time for his genins to heal, and so then the real reason he wanted them not to interfere hit her. He needed to see if his team was truly ready to be back in the field. You could prepare all you want, but unless they actually faced real danger, he couldn't tell if they were over the last mission. She also thought of her own team. Kakashi's had gone through something nasty for the first time, and she didn't want her own team to go through that. She eventually came to the decision to let Kakashi do it his way for now, but the moment things got too dangerous, she was stepping in. Just as they were passing the puddle, that was when the two ninjas struck. They like to have been known as the Demon Brothers, a couple of rogue ninja from Mist. They have been told the old man had gone to Konoha for help. At first they were worried, but the old man wouldn't have enough for a Jonin or a more experienced team. When they saw 2 Genin teams, they decided to stick with the original plan. They would have to take out the 2 Jonins fast. If they didn't, they wouldn't stand a chance. So as soon as the kids' teachers were in range, they jumped out. They liked to use poison-tipped claws with a razor-sharp chain connecting them. As twins, they had always fought together and their teamwork was top-notch. Their chain managed to get the 2 Jonin and they ripped him apart. It turned into pure chaos after that. People yelled out as it was nothing but confusion at the moment. One of the demon brothers took sight of Hinata. The young girl had never been in a real combat or real danger like this. She suddenly had a flashback to when she had been kidnapped as a small child. She remembered how scared she had been and she just froze. The brother chuckled to himself as he saw an easy kill and ran at the girl. "Hinata, get down." Naruto yelled at her, but she was frozen solid. She wanted to move but her body wouldn't let it. Naruto's father told him all kinds of stories on how some people react to their first time in danger. Hinata had frozen and if he didn't do anything she was going to die. He jumped at her, grabbing her with his arms as he pulled her to the ground with him. He grunted feeling something slice his forearm but he didn't pay any attention to it. "Hinata, are you okay?" he asked, still protecting her. Hinata looked at him as he focus came back into reality. She nodded her head and Naruto nodded back as he quickly got up and pulled out the sword on his back, getting ready for a fight. Kiba already had to dodge one of the enemy ninja as Akamaru tried to bite down on the leg of that ninja. He quickly jumped back and tried to kick the small white dog but he was faster and jumped out of the way. Kiba tried to get in close with his kunai but the man blocked it with his claws and was suddenly pulled back by his partner. The ninja sailed through the air as he went to attack another in their party. Sakura found herself between the razor chain between the two ninja. She quickly got out her tonfas and placed them up in front of her, with the length of the weapon running parallel with her arms. They protected her arms as the chain grinded against the metallic weapons, making sparks fly out. She had to close her eyes to protect them. Shino raised an arm and from the loose sleeve of his gray coat many tiny black insects started to fly out. Like Kiba's clan and the dogs, he had a mental link with his bugs and told them to attack and drain the two of them of their chakra. Sasuke was already attacking them with his own sword but the brothers were proving a little faster than he was. He wanted to take off the weights on himself but the enemy weren't giving him a change so he just kept up with the attacks. He activated his eyes as they turned into the red Sharingan that his clan was known for. The moments of his enemies became easier to see and predict. Everything became sharper and clearer when he used his eyes like this, and it was with this he noticed Naruto making hand seals and not just anyone's either. He can't be serious in using that, he thought to himself. Everyone clear the area. Sasuke gave them a warning. There were a few that weren't certain why Sasuke said that but they moved out of the area anyway because they all figured out something was up. Naruto finished his jutsu as he made a couple of clones, and to those that knew him that was odd as he usually made a gang of them. The two clones each went after one of the brothers. They didn't see much point in worrying and tried to attack the clones. What they didn't know was that although Naruto could make a huge number of shadow clones, it took a lot more energy to make exploding shadow clones. The two clones exploded, sending the twin ninja brothers off flying. Although they flew in two different directions, the chain that connected them snapped them back together as they slammed back into each other in mid-air and landed onto the ground. It was actually kind of funny, and if it wasn't a life and death fight the kids might have found it pretty funny. "Did you kill them?" Sakura asked Naruto looking at the smoking ninja. "I don't think so," Naruto said to her looking at the bodies. Although he got over killing that last ninja, he didn't want to have to do it again too soon. When they heard a groan coming out of the two of them and saw them move, they figured out they were still alive. With them down, it was easy for Shino to command his bugs to swam them and eat up enough of their chakra so they wouldn't pose a threat anymore. "Geez, Naruto, give us some warning before you do something like that," Kiba told him. Naruto scratched the back of his head. "Hey, sorry about that, but hey, we got them right." But what about Kurenai and Kakashi-sensei?" Hinata asked, worried. "What about us?" Everyone turned to see Kakashi leaning up against a tree with Kurenai standing next to him. "Why, you're alive." Kiba was shocked by it. "Kiba, didn't you notice the replacement technique we both used?" Kurenai said, pointing to the pieces of wood that were where the remains of the bodies should have been. Kiba smacked himself in the face and groaned. He had been so taken by surprise he hadn't noticed that they had replaced themselves with the wood at the last moment. That move had saved countless ninja from nearly dying a lot of time through history. "Now then, I think you all did a good job," Kakashi said. He was proud of how well his team had done. They seemed to have gotten over the last hard mission. He got out a piece of rope from his backpack as he walked over to the brothers. "Now I think it's time we deal with the two of them," Kakashi said. When the two demon brothers were tied up, everyone was gathering their things. Akamaru was walking up to the two ninja. Something was off about their scent that he had noticed. There was a strong odor about them. He started to sniff and the strange scent seemed to be only on the claws. While his master trained as a ninja, he too was trained by the older dogs of the pack. They told him what to sniff out, what harmful scents were as well as other things. Akamaru didn't know what type it was, but he could smell the poison on the metal. He turned to his master and barked out the warning. Kiba turned to look at his partner. Like all of his clan, they had a bond with their animals. It was kind of like a bloodline ability in a way how they bonded with the dogs that allowed a deeper understanding with them and of other dogs in their clan had. What do you mean poison? Kiba asked as his puppy yelped out a few more times. Hey Kurenai-sensei. Akamaru says these guys had poison on their claws. Everyone, was anyone hurt? Kurenai asked them all. Naruto looked at the place where he had been hit protecting Hinata. He hadn't noticed with the adrenaline going, but he was cut. He wasn't sure if he should be worried or not. He knew that the stupid fox inside of him healed injuries, but he had never been poisoned before. Naruto-kun. Hinata cried out, seeing him look at the bleeding wound. She automatically went to check on it as she was more worried than nervous at this point. She knew that he had gotten that protecting her. Because she had hesitated, he had been hurt. All that she was thinking was that it was her fault because she still wasn't strong enough. Kurenai and Kakashi walked over as they watched Naruto roll up his sleeve of his shirt to show the wound. Kakashi looked at it as Hinata got out the medical supplies. Well, it looks like we're going to have to get Naruto an antidote, but I'm not carrying any anti-poisons on me. How about your team, Kurenai? Kakashi asked her. She shook her head as her team didn't carry that. She didn't think it would be that dangerous, and some ninja used special poisons that needed a medical facility to cure. So what does that mean? Kiba asked. It means we'll have to go back to Konoha to get him cured, Shino said. Kiba didn't take well to that. It was his team's first big mission and he wanted to complete it. Shino didn't say much, but you could somewhat tell the bug user wasn't too happy with the thought of failing the mission as well. Sasuke scowled at going back. He didn't say anything, but the boy looked like he didn't like this any more than anyone else. Naruto could see this and looked at the wound on his arm. He could remember a few ways to deal with poison, and there was one thing he could do. He didn't want to turn back either. They had a job to do and he always saw things to the end. They didn't run when things got tough last time, and although the ending of that mission was something he would carry for the rest of his life, he had grown from it. No, we're not going back, Naruto said loudly, getting everyone's attention. We took on this mission and we're not quitting because I don't quit. We agreed to protect him and take the old drunk home, and I'm not going to be the one that makes us fail this mission. He drew out a kunai and stabbed it into his forearm to the shock of everyone there. The blood slowly started to flow out of the wound as the poison was being drained out of it. He learned this trick from stories from his dad's day in Anbu and from a lesson at school. Although it did hurt, he could take the pain. I swear that I will never fail, that I'll always go on no matter what, Naruto said, using his own blood as a way to seal his own deal with himself. Kakashi blinked a few times and smiled under his mask. Naruto sure was surprising, and he was proud of his son's attitude. He always did see things through to the end no matter what, although now he was wondering what the bridge builder wasn't telling them. Those two had been Chunin level ninja, and someone doesn't hire that kind of ninja for a simple old man. Well, Naruto, that's all well and good, but you might want to put a bandage on that before you bleed to death, Kakashi said off-headedly. Huh. Naruto looked at his bleeding arm for a second. Someone get me something to stop it with, he said frantically as Hinata tried to use the medical supplies she had on him. It wasn't easy to calm Naruto down and for Hinata to use the bandages and medical salve she had on her. Kurenai just wasn't sure what to make of Naruto. At one moment he was like a different person, and then he could switch at the drop of a hat. She had known him for a bit, but Anko knew him better than she did. She sighed as she let Hinata dress the boy's wound. She noticed that Kakashi was motioning her over to him. So she walked over to him as he then spoke to her in a soft voice. I think we should have a talk with our client. Her eyes hardened as she nodded, and they both looked at the old man. She too had figured out that there was more going on here than he had told them about, and she wanted answers. This was supposed to be a simple C-rank mission, and now it was already getting close to a B rank. Something wasn't right here, and she wanted to know what they had gotten themselves into. They walked up to their client as Kakashi gave him a solid hard look with his single eye. He may be a lazy Jonin at times, but when things were serious you would have hard pressed to find someone as good, powerful, or as scary as Kakashi when he got serious. I think we need to have a little talk with you, Tazuna, Kakashi said in a cold tone. The old man looked at the Jonin and then to Kurenai, who had an equally cold and hard look in her red eyes. He swallowed, knowing that he had lied about being protected by only bandits. He would have to tell them everything now, and he only hoped that they wouldn't just leave him on the road undefended. If they did, he didn't have enough money to hire any more ninja and he would never make it back home. Alright, he sighed as they led him off to the side for a talk. Hinata was finishing up taking care of Naruto's injury. She was putting the final touches on the dressing on his arm. Naruto smiled a little at how much care she was taking with it. Although he knew by now that the stupid fox would most likely have healed up his injury, he didn't want to have to tell her why she didn't have to worry. She actually wasn't bad at this, and the salve she put on did help ease the pain too. You're pretty good at this, Hinata-chan, he told her. She blushed and her hands shook a little, but she managed to finish. Naruto-kun. I'm sorry. Huh. Sorry for what? Because of me you got hurt. She looked down, not meeting his eyes. She just focused on helping him. She was still a burden, it seemed. Her first time out and she froze, and Naruto ended up hurt because of it. She thought she had improved, but when everyone needed her she had failed them. Hinata, what happened can happen to anyone. My dad told me countless times that he's seen people do the exact same thing first time in a real battle. Naruto told her. You didn't, she whispered, looking down as she finished her work. Yes, I did, he told her gently. She looked up in shock. She couldn't believe that Naruto of all people had frozen. He started to explain the first time he really had been scared. When I was little, a couple of bad guys tried to kidnap me too. Uncle Guy saved me, but I was scared. I couldn't sleep alone and had nightmares for a long time after it. It took me time, but I got over it, but it's something I can never forget it either. Naruto-kun. Hinata trailed off. She never knew that the same thing that had happened to her had happened to him. He never really talked about his life before they met. He kept saying that it wasn't important. Then Naruto looked at her, smiling with both eyes closed. Anyway, sir, all you have to do is get stronger. You fool, you just pick yourself up and keep trying. You never give up, because if you do then you can't get better, and I know you won't let the same thing happen again. She smiled at him and gave him a small nod. He always made her feel better about herself, and for some strange reason she always felt she could become a better person with his help. Just then the adults returned with Tazuna looking like a dog that got scolded by its owner. Both Kurenai and Kakashi told the old man to tell their teams exactly what he told them. The old man sighed as he told them that he didn't have enough money to hire more protection and had lied about the dangers. He was building a bridge to connect his land with the mainland. It would improve the economy, and lots of the land's resources were going into this project. A criminal named Gato had a stranglehold on his land. He was bleeding them dry. This bridge was the only way to help the country, as they couldn't rid themselves of the man. He was on his way back to complete the bridge and had found out that Gato had hired people to kill him. Without him the bridge would never be built and his people would never get out from under Gato's control. With the story out of the way, Kakashi asked both teams if they wanted to continue the mission. They had been lied to about what the mission was, so they were within their rights to refuse the mission now. But Naruto didn't like that one bit. He stood up and said that he'd never back down from a mission no matter what happened. Kiba was just as eager as well, and he too wanted to continue. Sasuke nodded his head as he didn't feel like quitting as well. Sakura looked a bit uncertain, but with both team members for it she couldn't abandon them, so she agreed too. Shino gave a silent nod, and Hinata didn't want to keep going as well. She needed to prove to herself that she could do this. If she couldn't, then she didn't deserve to be a ninja. Kurenai sighed. She knew that she couldn't talk them out of it, but she did convince Kakashi to send one of his summoned dogs back to the village with a message. One to have Hunter Nins or ABNU to come and pick up the demon brothers, and to inform the Hokage that the mission seemed to be a bit more than it was. She just hoped that she didn't live to regret the decision to continue this mission. The teams made their way onto Tazuna's home. After the encounter with that last group of ninja, they were being a bit more on guard this time around. Little was said on their way to the village, although he told them they would need to hire a boat to get him to his village, as the bridge of course wasn't completed enough for them to travel on. They mainly tried to keep going on, being quick, hoping not to draw out too much attention. The atmosphere was a bit tense as they made their way. They entered into a forested area that was near the large body of water that separated Wave Country. There was a dirt road that they were taking. It was an old trade route to the country, although no one really used it anymore thanks to Gato. Kakashi didn't like to take this route as it was too exposed, but Tazuna wasn't a ninja and would only slow them down if they tried another method. He just hoped that because this route was old, any forces wouldn't be watching it. Naruto was looking around the forest. He didn't want to get surprised like last time, and this time he would be a bit more ready. He cast a worried look to Hinata and he knew that she had trouble believing in herself, although he didn't know why. She was one of the strongest kunoichi that he knew in their age range. She was the daughter of the head of one of the most powerful clans, and she had her family's bloodline and fighting style. She had a lot more going for her than most of the females in their class, so he didn't see the problem. He was wondering what to say to her but wasn't sure since as he didn't know what the exact problem was. He looked to see Kiba and Akamaru sniffing around for trouble. Shino looked calm and relaxed, but that wasn't new. Sasuke looked like he actually wanted a fight, and Naruto was eager to get into a fight as well, but when he saw Sakura he noticed that she had been looking depressed lately. He would have asked her what was wrong, but his dad said they had to try and be silent from this point on, and so he never could get the chance. He didn't like the quit. Although his dad kept telling him that silence was a good friend to a ninja, he just never liked it. It just went against who he was really. He sighed as they walked along the road until he noticed a rustling in the bushes. At first he thought it was an animal, but it was a bit big to be one. It had to be someone waiting for them, and he slowly went to his weapons pouch on his leg. "Got ya!" he shouted as he threw the kunai into the bushes, startling everyone there. Everyone turned to see what was going on, only to see a small little white rabbit hop out of the bushes. "Oh man, Naruto, you need to loosen up some," Kiba laughed. "Naruto, how could you?" Sakura yelled at him. "It was a harmless bunny rabbit." "And Naruto-kun." Hinata agreed as she watched the little white bunny hopping along. She hoped that Naruto hadn't hurt the little rabbit. It was a cute little thing and she bent down towards it. The little white rabbit seemed to regard her for a moment before slowly going towards her. She was surprised at this. The rabbit seemed to be a tame animal and not some wild one. Hinata was thinking someone might have lost a pet as she slowly petted the small animal. "I think he likes you," Sakura said, smiling at the cute little animal. Hinata smiled as she dug into her backpack for something for it to eat. She found some small baby carrots she took for some snack food, as sometimes people didn't take the right kinds of foods with them on missions. She knew that Naruto would have carried a lot of instant ramen on him, and she made sure that he at least ate something good for him at times. She handed the small carrot to the animal as it sniffed it and slowly started to eat the offered food. Hinata giggled, feeling its whiskers tickling her hand. Kurenai sighed, knowing that look, the young girl would most likely want to keep it now. At least Akamaru didn't seem to mind the other animal. She was thinking of saying something when she noticed how hard Kakashi was staring at the rabbit. "What? Haven't you noticed that the rabbit is tame?" he asked her, and she looked at it. It was odd, but it could have been a pet, but there had to be more to it than that to get Kakashi so intent on it. It was just a small white rabbit, so, wait, it was white. They were in the wrong part of the land and the wrong season for white rabbits to show up. The only way both odd things about the rabbit would happen is if someone kept it around for something like substitution. "Everyone down!" Kakashi yelled out, and quickly everyone went down. A huge wind seemed to fly just over their heads, although it wasn't the wind exactly but the after effect of a giant sword being flung through the air, just missing them all. Everyone turned to see the sword being caught by a tall man. He wore no shirt, but his mouth was covered in bandages. There was some type of camo-style clothing on his arms, and although he looked strong, he wasn't like a bodybuilder, and yet he swung the giant 8-foot-long blade like it was nothing. Kakashi and Kurenai's eyes widened as they recognized the man right away. "Well, I was wondering what happened to the demon brothers, and look what I found. 2 genin teams. Guess the old man got a bit more protection than I was told he could afford. And I see we have Kakashi Hatake, the copy ninja of Konoha as well," he said in a cold killer's voice. He looked to Kurenai, studying her for a bit. "I don't know who you are though." Kurenai wasn't sure if she should be thankful a killer like this didn't know her or insulted. "I'm Kurenai Yuhi. Might have heard of you after all," he said, thinking on the name. Kurenai knew that she was still a rookie jonin, but she had worked hard to get where she was now, and if there was one thing she hated, it was a lack of respect. But she wouldn't let him goad her into any unnecessary actions either. She had a team of genin to think about. She and Kakashi could take him one, but the kids were in no way ready for this kind of monster. There was also the amount of killer intent that the man was giving off. It was a lot of it too. Kurenai felt her teeth on edge just by being this close to him, and the look in his eyes were just as scary. They were dark and totally menacing as well. Back with the Genins, they too were feeling the killing intent of the man. For Team 8, who had never felt anything like this before, it was a shock for a bit. Akamaru whined as he took a few steps back, and Shino could feel the bugs inside of his body were very agitated by it. The others weren't doing too well too, that is until Naruto did what naturally came to him, he started shouting. "Come on, there's only one of him and 8 of us," Naruto shouted. He heard a growling and looked to see Akamaru glaring at him. "Ops. Sorry, I mean 9. Naruto, don't you remember all those times I made you study my bingo book?" Kakashi yelled back to him, not taking his eyes off their opponent. "This is Zabuza, a missing nin from the Mist Village." Naruto thought about it. His dad for the last year made him study the bingo book like it was extra homework. He had asked why he had to study it, and his dad had simply told him that a good ninja knew the kind of enemies he might randomly face out there. Information about an opponent ahead of time could allow you an advantage, and a ninja took every advantage they could get in a fight. So Naruto had studied it, and his dad even told him some stories about him too. Let me think. Naruto had remembered a lot of stuff in there, but he was trying to place the name. Oh, I remember now. Zabuza, also known as the Demon of the Mist, right? Demon of the Mist? Kiba asked him. Oh yeah, why was he called that again? Naruto thought, trying to remember. Naruto, he was called that because the Mist Village used to be called the Blood Mist Village, Kakashi said, still keeping an eye on the man in front of them. The Genin exams were different than other villages. At the end, each student was put up against another to a fight to the death. All year round they were comrades and friends, but in the end they would end up killing at least one of them or die by one of them at the end of their training. Oh, I remember that now, Naruto said as it brought back memories of Anko once using that as a bedtime story. He hadn't slept at all that night thanks to her, and he got that name Demon of the Mist because, What? Sakura asked him, not liking the look on his face. I got that name because I killed my entire class, Zabuza said as if he was proud of it. That's right, Kurenai said, knowing the story as well. 1 year only one student was alive, and it was him. After that they changed the testing, but everyone remembers the one student that massacred his entire Genin class. Sasuke tensed up at hearing this. This man sounded like his brother Itachi. If he ever had a chance to see what kind of ninja his brother was, this was a good way to judge. This Zabuza had an air about him. The killing intent that was coming off the man was insane, and he could feel the fear in his heart. He checked and noticed the others were starting to feel the effects of it as well. Akamaru was whimpering with his head down at the man. He could see sweat showing off of several of them as well. Everyone, I want you to protect our client. Let Kurenai and myself handle him, Kakashi ordered. Yes, Kakashi-sensei, Shino said as he looked to Hinata and Kiba as they took up defensive positions around the man. Naruto didn't want to, but he held back with the others, and his team took up defensive options as well. Zabuza looked at the area around them, and he didn't like this at all. The two Jonin would he trouble. Kakashi was about his level, but he didn't know about the woman. She looked seasoned in combat and sure of herself, but he wasn't sure what type of ninja she was. The kids were already defending the old man, and he would have to get by the two adults. If it was just one Jonin, he wouldn't mind the exercise, but as one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, he knew his limits. His eyes narrowed as he thought about his options, and he might have to play his trump card early. His partner, Haku, was waiting in the trees in case he couldn't finish the job. He was to hit him in spots with his senbon needles that when hitting him would simulate death. He already had a mask from a ninja hunter from Mist that they had killed earlier that had tried to kill him. After all, he had tried to kill his Mizukage in a failed coup d'etat and had hunter nins after his ass since then. Haku had just been a young boy with talents that he picked up on his travel and was a good tool for him to use. The only problem was that the boy was still too soft for his own good, but it would look like he would need him anyway. Haku, get out here and deal with the kids while I deal with the adults. He's got a partner, Kakashi thought as he heard someone leap out of the trees behind them. He just hoped that they could handle whoever it was. The Genin teams were surprised when a boy not much older than them jumped out to meet them. He was tall and thin, but he wore robes so they couldn't be sure. He also wore a mask of some kind that they hadn't seen before. I'm sorry, but I have to fight you, the boy said in a soft voice. Yeah, well, we're not. Go Akamaru, Kiba shouted out as his dog ran forward to meet the ninja. Haku saw the duo and quickly threw out several senbon needles. Normally these weren't used as ninja weapons as they were very thin and a critical hit was hard to do. But to him they were a perfect weapon and his aim was always great. With lightning speed he threw the needles at the boy and the dog. Both were surprised as they fell back in pain as the needles hit their bodies. What the hell? Kiba shouted out, pulling out the needles. Guys, cover me while I get a Kamaru. He ran to his dog to pull out the needles as Shino raised his arms. The insects came out to meet the strange ninja. Haku saw them coming and Shino noticed that the masked boy made one-handed seals. This surprised him as he never heard of anyone just using one hand to make seals before. But before he could think on what he could be doing, a block of ice jutted out of the ground. Yet again this was another surprise. How could he have done that? Shino thought as it was his turn to dodge Senbon needles as he redirected his bugs around the ice. Ice isn't a normal elemental attack. Could this be a water type? No, it doesn't feel like it. The only thing I can think of that even comes close was the first Hokage's ability to use wood. Is this the same? Is this a bloodline ability to make ice? Even thought Shino was the quiet type, he had top grades in class. It wasn't too difficult to get an idea that this boy used some kind of ice ability, but bloodlines like this were rare. He also didn't know what his full abilities meant. Unlike his, everyone in his clan had the same abilities or like in Hinata's, but when you ran into someone with a unique bloodline you weren't sure what to expect. It left you at a disadvantage. Everyone be careful, he's got some kind of ice abilities, Shino called out. Meanwhile with the adults, Zabuza smirked under the bandages over his mouth. So here we are, I think I'll enjoy this. I wonder if Haku will kill them before or after I kill you too. Don't underestimate our teams, Kurenai said to him. Oh, I'll tell you this, if the boy's heart was as cold as his ice he could have surpassed me by now in everything. As it stands he's more than a match for anyone. I've trained him since a small boy and he's the most advanced tool I've ever used. A child is not a tool, Kurenai said. Fool, we're all tools, all ninjas are just tools to be used and discarded. He laughed at her face. Kakashi didn't like the sounds of this. He knew that his team was above an average team and they had handled some rough moments before. But a boy that Zabuza himself trained gave him a bad feeling. He and Kurenai needed to take him out quickly and make sure the others were okay. Well then I guess it's time to get serious, Kakashi said as he lifted his protector and uncovered his Sharingan eye. So the famous Sharingan, huh? I've always wanted to see it in action. Guess that means you really are serious. Very well then, so will I, he said, started to make hand seals. Don't let him finish, Kakashi yelled out and Kurenai ran forward. Zabuza jumped back as he cried out, hidden mist jutsu, and suddenly a thick mist started to show up all over the place. Kurenai lost him for a moment but dodged back, feeling the wind of his blade coming towards her. She jumped back with Kakashi as he was looking around just as she was. Heart, lungs, liver, brain, throat. A voice came from the mist. These are just some of the ways to kill a person in one move. What's he doing? Kurenai softly asked. Zabuza is a master of the silent killing technique, Kakashi told her, seriously looking for the man. Suddenly a form came at them. Kakashi got his kunai up and just managed to block the sword coming at him, but he could feel the pain in his limbs from stopping the force of the blow. He was also certain his kunai would break if he tried that again. Kurenai didn't wait time and ran below the blade and stabbed him in the chest with her own kunai. But to her surprise he just turned into water and fell into the ground. Water clones? She asked out loud. Kakashi nodded and he couldn't hear them, but he had a bad idea. Teams 7 and 8, there could be more coming towards you. Kurenai looked shocked at him as she knew why he warned them. Zabuza could be also sending clones to help this Haku person as well. The Genins were starting to form up. They had to protect their client, but also they had to deal with the ninja in front of them. It might not have been so bad, that is until a thick mist started to show up around them. Zabuza's mist was thick enough to mask a person from sight unless we're at least 15 feet in front of them. This made long-range attacks useless, but it still affected Haku. What the hell is going on? Naruto shouted out. How the hell should we know? Sasuke asked, irritated. Hinata, can you see what's going on? Kiba asked his teammate. Hinata nodded even though he couldn't see him. She closed her eyes and activated them, the veins protruding slightly from her skull as she opened her eyes. With them she could see through the mist, but she gasped out loud. There were more than just one ninja now. She called out to them to be careful of this. Kiba had pulled out the last of the senbon needles as Hinata let out a warning. He couldn't smell anything, but Akamaru could sense something and barked out a warning as he jumped back as a huge blade hit the ground where he was. He couldn't believe how close that came. He put Akamaru on his head and pulled up the hood of his jacket to keep him tucked in until he could walk again. Well, buddy, looks like this is going to get interesting, Kiba said to his small dog. Hinata found herself with Sakura as they were guarding the client. Hinata, warn us if someone is coming, okay? Sakura said with her tonfas out and ready. Hinata scanned the area feeling very nervous, as was Sakura, only less so. The amount of killing intent that was being sent out was chilling to the bone. Hinata looked and her eyes widened as a large form was coming towards them. She yelled out as it came at them. Sakura was closer and held up her weapons in defensive as the massive sword hit into her metal weapons. The jarring force of it made her arms numb. She felt a swift kick to her stomach as well as she hit the ground, but she rolled with it and jumped up back into a defensive move. She saw the shape of the ninja coming at her as she dodged and tried to swing one of her weapons back at him, but he dodged them. Hinata saw all of this but didn't move, at least not at first. She remembered how she had done nothing and Naruto had gotten hurt because of her. She was now watching Sakura and the other girl could get killed and she couldn't move her body. But she thought about all her friends fighting and how they could die without help. She had to help them. She couldn't afford to be weak at this moment. I won't let him down again, not this time, Hinata thought to herself. With that, she launched herself at the Zabuza water clone. He noticed the girl and went to cut her in two. Hinata easily ducked under it, and it was enough time for Sakura to hit the taller man in the back of the knees with her tonfas. The man growled out as he dropped to his knees. Hinata took her shot and placed several palm strikes to his chest, making the clone dissipate into water. Sakura gave Hinata a thankful smile and Hinata smiled back, feeling better that this time she had managed to help instead of just freezing up like last time. Hinata, can you also tell the others what to do if they need help? Hinata nodded her head. Shino, Kiba-kun needs help, he's over to your left. Naruto-kun, there's someone behind you, Hinata shouted out. Naruto turned and pulled up his family sword to block a blade, only to find himself flung back a few feet from the huge sword. Oh man, that's a big sword, Naruto muttered as what looked like Zabuza charged at him. He jumped back from the mist ninja and putting the sword down for a second started to make several of his own clones. Alright ugly, try and take on all of us. The clones charged the other clone, but the massive sword cut through most of the clones. If that's all you got, kid, you're going to die very soon. Oh yeah, well I don't die so easily, Naruto shouted out, making more and more clones. Kid, this is pathetic, the Zabuza clone said, killing all the clones easily enough. What he didn't know was the Naruto was going to use the same trick he used on the Demon Brothers. It worked out so well that mixing in shadow clones with exploding shadow clones was becoming a winning strategy with him. As soon as there was an opening, one of the clones latched onto the leg of the Zabuza clone and an explosion was seen and felt. There was a small gap in the mist as the concussion blew away the mist. Naruto looked to see all his clones had been taken out, but so had the other Zabuza. Yeah, I got him. Naruto-kun, Sasuke is in trouble, Hinata called out to him. Naruto could hear steel on steel and guessed that was where Sasuke had to be as he ran towards the noises. Sasuke was having a hard time again, the masked ninja. The other boy was fast, really fast, faster than he was. He got in close, but the boy's taijutsu skills were better than his and those senbon needles were a major pain as well. He had to use his sword to block most of them, but a few still got through. He jumped back to get some room as he put the sword into the ground and started to make the hand seals for his grand fireball jutsu. The large fireball headed for the ninja and Sasuke smirked, seeing that the other ninja wasn't going to dodge it. There was an explosion, but as soon as the smoke cleared, he was surprised to see that their ninja was still there, only in what looked like a piece of ice. The side facing him almost looked like a mirror instead, that it didn't reflect anything back. I'm impressed, it's been a while since anyone has made me use this technique, Haku stated. Unfortunately, I can't allow you to stand in the way of Zabuza-san's dream. If you don't move aside, I will be forced to deal with you. Do your best, Sasuke said. Very well then, demonic ice mirrors, Haku said, and suddenly Sasuke found himself surrounded by the ice mirrors, but they all held an image of the masked ninja. At first he thought it was an illusion like that woman he fought before, but when the senbon needles were thrown, they were all real. His eyes couldn't see an illusion this time like the last time he was in something like this time they were all somehow real. He tried his fireball jutsu again but he only managed to slightly melt the edges but they just froze over again. If he could he would try those other fire jutsus that he had been working on but in this kind of enclosed area they would do a lot more damage to himself than the enemy ninja. Damn it, this guy's better than that other missing nin, there has to be a way around this. I can't get out, but if someone were to attack from the outside it might work at least it's better than just charging right in or they would be as stuck as I am. Hey, Sasuke how's it going? Naruto shouted out as he jumped into the ice-mirrored cage. Sasuke just stared at him for a moment, idiot. Naruto just ignored the look, so you're trying to kill the old man huh? That's not exactly a good thing in my book. I don't want to but to protect Zabuza's dream I will do what's necessary for him, Haku said as a hail of senbons from all direction came at them. The boys did their best to dodge and deflect them but there were just too many of them. Many hit him over and over again, they tried to fight back but Haku was just too fast. Naruto tried to make shadow clones and attack each mirror but Haku was able to attack each one in the blink of an eye. The boys weren't doing well and they were running out of ideas. Shino and Kiba had managed to find the girls and the old bridge builder, they decided to keep together as they could see the others although the sounds of battle could be heard. Shino said that they had to protect their client and they needed to ensure his survival. There were some mutters against it but he could be very persuasive when he had to be. But for Hinata she could see that Naruto and Sasuke were in real trouble. She couldn't stand watching as both of them were being hurt more and she just stood there. Seeing Naruto go down again in a yell of pain was just one time too much. She broke free from the group, she heard them yelling at her to come back. She was sorry but she had to help him, all the time Naruto was the one that helped her but she had never really helped him out when he was in trouble. Without thinking she ran up to the ice mirrors seeing Naruto on the group and a group of senbons heading for him. She didn't think as she jumped to cover him, she gave a small cry as the needles hit her back and arms. Naruto was expecting the impact but suddenly felt something very warm covering him, he heard a whimper of pain and when the pressure left he looked up to see Hinata's smiling face. Hinata, are you okay Naruto-kun? She asked him. Hinata, you're hurt, Naruto said seeing the needles inside of her. I had to help you, you've helped me so much in the past it's only right I do the same, she gave him a small smile but winced feeling some of the pain in her body. He cried out and held her close to him as she looked a little unsteady, Haku saw this and couldn't help but feel sad at the sight. He didn't want to kill them but it looked like the girl meant a lot to the boy and what he had to do gave him no joy at all. He continued his attack but was surprised by the girl's abilities she was able to dodge them much better than the boys and with her bare hands was able to hit the center of his senbons knocking them out of the way. I'm sorry but I have to end this is taking too much time. Haku told them all. Before they could give a replay the masked ninja fired a horde of needles at them all. Naruto felt the blinding pain all over his body as he slowly tried to get up, he went to look on Sasuke and Hinata but they were both on the ground. He ran over to them the fear in his heart was racing through him. Sasuke, Hinata-chan, he yelled out as he checked on them. They were hardly moving and they didn't look too good either. Damn it, I guess I couldn't kill him after all. Sasuke groaned out. Don't say that like you're going to die you bastard, Naruto told him. Sasuke gave a rare smile at him, an idiot to the end huh, Naruto. The boy went limp and he heard Hinata coughing as he turned to her, Hinata-chan just hang on okay. En Naruto-kun. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough. You are strong how many times do I have to tell you that? He pleaded with her. Sasuke was already gone and he couldn't lose Hinata. She was too important to his life, his first and best friend, she meant so much to him that he felt like he was dying on the inside. En Naruto-kun, I've wanted to tell you that. Lo. She passed out and fell still at that moment. Hinata-chan. Hinata. Naruto shouted out feeling the tears coming out as he held her limp body in his arms. No. You can't die, you're not supposed to die. I'm sorry but as I said I can't let you get in the way. Haku stated. You think that makes it all right? Naruto said his voice getting deeper. He was shaking all over as he looked at the boy. Haku noticed something odd about his eyes, they were red now and he could have sworn that they had been blue earlier. Then Haku felt it, a large pulse of chakra and killing intent the likes he had never felt before. Naruto clenched the sword in his hand as the blade glowed, but this wasn't the white glow that it was known for, it was red now. In fact, a mass of red chakra seemed to erupt from the boy as everyone in the battle felt the sudden surge of power. Haku was so surprised he nearly missed. All the needles were somehow forced out of the boy's body and he came at the mirrors even faster than before. The sword, which left a red streak as it moved, actually cut into the mirrors, nearly shattering them. I have to end this quickly, Haku thought, worried. I don't know what's going on, but he's gone berserk. I have to deal with him now or I might not be able to do it later. As Naruto was on the ground, he tried to appear in the top mirror and try to stab the boy from the air. But he seemed to know, or at least moved fast enough to dodge. The next thing he knew, his kunai was cut in half by the boy's sword and felt his wrist being crushed in the boy's hand. He was surprisingly strong, and looking into those pain-filled red eyes, he froze at the sight of them. It was nearly like looking into the eyes of a demon, and the killing intent and chakra was so intense he couldn't even move. Naruto shifted his sword hand to the blade was facing away as he slammed his fist into the boy's face, sending him flying into one of the mirrors and then landing into the ground. Without his concentration, the mirrors melted into water, but Naruto didn't care. The tears were flowing through his eyes as he ran at the boy. Haku managed to get to his knees as he saw the boy coming at him. The mask, being damaged, fell apart and Naruto could see the face behind it for the first time. He saw the hurt face there, but it was the eyes that he couldn't help but see. The eyes were filled with a pain and regret that seemed familiar to him for some reason. He wanted to kill this boy, but something inside of him couldn't help but look at the boy's eyes. The image of that ninja he tore open came to mind at the last second and he stopped the blade at the boy's throat. Why? Naruto shouted in his face with his sword resting on the boy's neck. Why what? Why are you so ready to die? Why did you have to kill them? Why are you working for someone like Zabuza? Tell me why. Naruto shouted out, feeling the tears on his face. Haku gave him a sad smile. I had no one. I was going to die in the cold alone, hated by everyone just because of my ability. In Mist, everyone with a bloodline ability is hunted down and killed. It was Zabuza-san that found me, trained me, he gave me my life back and gave me a purpose again. My dream is for him to achieve his dream, and if it means my life, then so be it. So please kill me now. I'm nothing more than a broken tool for him now. I'm worthless to him now. A tool. That's all you think you are? Naruto asked. All ninja are tools to be used by others, Haku told him simply. I don't believe that. We are not tools, we're human first. We all have lives, hopes and dreams, and tools don't have any of that. Haku gave him a warm smile. Then, you are truly unique. I wish I had known you better in life. I'm sorry I killed those close to you, but please, end me now. Naruto closed his eyes. He didn't know what to do. This boy just reminded him too much of himself. Kakashi had adopted him and taken him in when he had no one and had been a good father to him. And now this boy had the same thing done to him. If it was Kakashi, then Naruto would die to protect his father as well. But to just think of yourself as just a tool, with a dream that wasn't even your own in life. Then there was Hinata and Sasuke behind him. He wanted to kill him for that, but he also pitied him too. He didn't know what to do. With Kakashi and Kurenai, they were having a major fight on their hands with Zabuza. The man's reputation was well worth it as they had a hard time with him. He created a large water dragon at them that they managed to dodge it, although he didn't exactly let up with that either. That large sword of his was trouble, and the man moved in and out of the mist like he was a phantom. Zabuza wasn't going easy on him either, as both Jonin were now fighting on the lake trying to keep ahead of the man. I think it's time for a little bait and switch, Kakashi whispered to her. Kurenai nodded her head, knowing what he was talking about. It would just take the right moment to get it set up. It was a complex genjutsu that she was preparing and it needed a lot of concentration. Zabuza came at them again as Kakashi threw down smoke bombs. He could fight through the mist, so some smoke wouldn't do anything for him. It was also the best time to get his water prison jutsu for them. He would have to use both hands, but he could wait until they were drowned in the water. As he came through the smoke, seeing the two Jonins, he smirked as he had them right where he wanted them. As soon as they stopped moving, he gathered the water around them into a sphere, shoving a hand into each sphere to control the prison. He knew he had them as he saw their surprised looks, but something was wrong. He could feel no real change in pressure in the water. It was almost as if he jumped out of the way as Kakashi came flying out of nowhere, nearly attacking him from behind. He let the prison go as the illusion of the two Jonins inside vanished. He had to admit that illusion was good. If he hadn't known about the weight difference in the water, he would never had known. He turned to face Kakashi when he realized that he couldn't see where the woman was. Just as he was about to move, something strange happened. A tree was suddenly growing out of nowhere, but the thing was, it was growing around him. He knew it was an illusion, but it was so real that he couldn't even move. In a swirl of air, the woman seemed to appear out of thin air. Demonic illusion, tree binding death, she said as the jutsu was completed. You should never underestimate someone just because you never heard of them. Apparently so, the man said back, glaring at her. Across the area, Haku had prepared himself for death, but something was wrong. He could feel something wrong with Zabuza. He cast a look and he didn't like what he could see in the mist. For years he had trained enough to be able to see through it enough to know what was going on. I'm sorry, but it seems I can't die just yet, Haku told him with a sad smile. Before Naruto could react, the boy made several hand seals with his one hand and suddenly vanished right there. Across from them on the lake, Zabuza was held in Kurenai's tree as he stared down Kakashi. He could tell that he was finished at this moment and he couldn't break out. Kakashi came running over to him with his Chidori charged up and ready to pierce his chest. He didn't blink or look away. If this was how his life ended, he would stare it straight on and meet death itself, unflinching or afraid. Kakashi got closer, but when he was within a few feet, the boy Haku suddenly appeared out of nowhere in front of him. Kakashi's arm was already extending and it seemed time slowed down as he locked eyes with the boy. He seemed sad and yet he held a purpose in him. He was sacrificing himself for Zabuza. He could hear Naruto yelling out to him to stop, but he wasn't sure he could at this moment. Kakashi thought that he had passed the point of no return as he watched his hand moving towards the boy. He was getting closer and closer until. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.